All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's Leo. Today I am going to share with you a quick training on Bitcoin. And we're going to cover so much that I just want to get started. Hang around because the next couple of minutes I'm going to try to go as quickly as I can so that you can get as much out of this in a summarized, condensed version as possible. We're going to basically cover some very basic things and we're going to go into a little bit more advanced as well. So hang in there with me because the next couple of minutes we're going to cover why is Bitcoin such a big thing now? What is a Bitcoin? How do you get it? How do you grow it? And how do you store it? Because that's the questions that everybody's asking right now. What are the things that you need to take into consideration? And where do I go from here? Okay, those are all very important and it's a lot to cover. So please forgive me if I seem to be going a little fast, but I know you can stop the video, rewind it, watch it as many times as you want. And at the end of the day, I certainly hope that you got a sort of a crash course so that you can get started on whatever it is that you want to be able to do. I'm not going to be pitching a program. I'm not going to be asking you to buy anything. I just want to make sure that you are educated to a point where you can actually start doing your own due diligence and actually start using this. So let's get started. Why Bitcoin? What's the big deal? So let's cover the very important highlights out of this and just go from there. For the daily users, anybody using it, it's a peer-to-peer decentralized platform that could be used to be able to transfer Bitcoin to somebody else around the world, anywhere, and be able to have security, privacy in terms of what you're doing. There's no middleman. It's not owned by anyone. It's kind of like the internet. It's the internet's currency, if you would. Okay, and there is, like I said, no middleman, and the usability and its world adaptation is huge. We're going to talk about that, but I'm just going to mention a couple real quick. Japan just accepted it as a form of currency. There's talk about it in Australia. There's also India. There's also Russia. There's also, the U.S. already started using it in some of its formal organizations. So there's just so much, but I could spend all day talking about that. For businesses, it basically has lower transaction fees than most of what you're trying to when you're trying to run a credit card transaction. There's no chargebacks. So those of you running business, you know how important that is. There's international transfers. You don't have to worry about whether they're going to approve it, not approve it, and so forth. The fraud prevention is huge because unless you hand over your keys to somebody else, they're not going to be able to break in through your wallets or to your Bitcoin. And the payments tend to be faster. Usually when you do a wire transfer, it takes a few days. A Bitcoin transaction could take minutes to just a couple hours and you're done. Okay, so those are the very basics of it, why there's so much on there. But here's what's important to also know about the evolution of Bitcoin. We need to know how we got here, because once you understand that, then you see where the future of it seems to be heading and why so many people are talking about it. When we first started, we were trading precious metals, gold, silver, beans, whatever, and to be able to get where you wanted. It was inconvenient, so trying to carry gold around or carry beans around or carry all that was really hard. So we switched over to fiat currencies, paper money, coins, and so forth. From there, it's evolved into credit cards. So more of us would carry credit cards, and there's a lot of places don't even take cash anymore. They go through credit, so a digitized form. So it started losing its actual physical form, where you go into a more digital form. Then along came smart devices, computers, and so forth, and that's where we started seeing more of the PayPal and so forth, so that you can make payments. Then it evolved because almost everybody at this point has a smart device, and Apple Pay, all those types of payments are able to process. Now, there's still, out of all that, there's still a centralization of all that. So you still have to go through a bank and so forth. So a lot of people get left out of the loop. Now we get into digital currencies, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin being the granddaddy of them all. And there's over 700, I think, well, 600 or so coins that are actually in the market right now. But Bitcoin is the granddaddy of them all. It survived. It's one of the first ones. It's one of the ones that's gone through most of the trials and tribulations, and it is here to stay. At least from the looks of it, from everywhere that we've seen, it has just skyrocketed. Okay, and there's going to be an interesting story that you'll hear of how I thought about this when I first started. See, I didn't believe. Back in 2009, I didn't believe that this cryptocurrency stuff was actually going to be any good. That was, paper money. I mean, there's paper money, there's all this gold, there's all this that is going on. And at that point, Bitcoin was just coming out. But the problem is that it cost me millions. And I'm going to share that story with you in just a moment. But before I do, let me share somebody else's story. Norwegian student Christopher Koch, who purchased 5,000 Bitcoins because he was studying Bitcoin back in 2009, right around the same time I had heard about it for the first time. And he bought 5,000 Bitcoins for $26.60 in 2009. Those, he forgot all about it, and then when he checked his wallet in 2013, the value of Bitcoin had shot up to around 1,200 or so, and that same Bitcoin that he bought was worth now $886,000. Now let that sink in. How would you like to have been that person? Now make it even worse, or even better, if he had actually held on to that for just longer, let it go through its dip and then come back up. Today in 2017, it'd probably be worth somewhere around the 8.5 million. Now I say approximately because it keeps going up right now, so it's this number I'd have to keep changing it, but it would have been a heck of a lot more. So if I had only followed through, I told you there was a personal story. For me in 2009, I first heard about Bitcoin, and I said, you know what? Let me watch a show. I watched a little bit of a documentary. I researched Google and so forth, and I was going to put $100. Okay. Now those $100 at that point, there wasn't a wallet, there wasn't exchanges, there wasn't all the things that I'm going to teach about in the next couple of minutes. So I didn't follow through. I was like, I forgot about it. I didn't think about it. And had I followed through back in 2009, put those $100 right now, those would have been worth about $43 million. Now, of course, I probably would have forgotten just like I did now. And now that's what I would have seen in my wallet. How crazy is that? That's an expensive lesson of not having followed through, not having taken action when I saw something that I knew and I believed that would do well. It's kind of like missing that Google opportunity. So I said never again. And from this point forth, this is part of what drives me to educate people and to say, hey, you know what? This is a booming part of our industry, not even industry, it's part of our future. Because you know where the fiat currencies and all the currencies are struggling in a lot of ways, and the debts of the countries are just going huge. So let's talk about the value of Bitcoin real quick, just about a minute of that, and then after that, let's get right into how you use Bitcoin. Bitcoin 2012, he bought only a little bit. 2013, it went up. Obviously, you saw that the examples. And 2014, it's continued to rise. Some people predict that as time goes by, one Bitcoin by itself is going to be worth a heck of a lot more. Now, I'm not going to make predictions. I'm not here to speculate, but people have talked about numbers of by the end of this year, somewhere to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for one Bitcoin, and then some people have speculated even up to $1 million or $500,000 in years to come. So whether you believe that or not, the point of it is the point Bitcoin has gone up, continues to go up, and it seems to be getting bigger. Why? Because look at who's accepting it. I mean, this is just some of the top 10, and look at the names. You got Microsoft, Dell, Dish, Expedia. You got some big companies. Hundreds of thousands of retailers are starting to adapt to Bitcoin. You got them all over the place. These are just some of the few, and if you notice, there's in all the industries, in food, drink, travel, retailers, online media, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so all that's fine and dandy, but how do you get it? How do you even get started? What do I do with it? Because what I needed back then was, how do I even get started? And I noticed that a lot of people are still there right now. They don't even know what's there. So let's get right to that. And then the next couple of minutes, you will have the crash course of exactly how this whole process works. Okay, so you have fiat currency, you have cash, whatever you have, and you want to get it to Bitcoin. So you've got to go through an exchange. You got to exchange your currency for Bitcoin if you want Bitcoin. Now, the nice thing about Bitcoin is that nowadays there's a lot of wallets, what they call a wallet. And you can either have it on your phone, which makes it really portable, really easy. You can have it on a computer. And then from there, you can utilize it through logging into your account, just like a bank you would. From there, the exchanges, there's tons of them that are there, that have come around. And the one thing that is important for me to mention here is that not every exchange is the same. And everything that I'm going to share with you, not every program or service is the same. So part of what I'm striving for is to continue to identify the ones that are better, and as time evolves, keep adjusting that list. And that before you leave here today, you'll have that list accessible to you, obviously for you to review and take a look at whenever you want. So You go to the exchanges, you give them your fiat currency, and they give you Bitcoin. You put it in your digital wallet, and that's it. Now you have it and ready to use it. So how do I use it? How do I get Bitcoin from one person to another person? Well, I have my wallet with Bitcoin, and I get this big old string of characters that is an address that keeps that privacy. And that privacy goes to the peer-to-peer networks all over the world. And their job is to verify that that transaction is valid. Now, not everybody verifies it. There's only certain verifications that need to happen. So everybody's kind of competing for that position. Later on, I'll tell you how that comes into play for you. Once the transactions are verified, then it goes into your wallet or into that person's wallet or that business or whatever, wherever you're sending it to. That's it. That's it. That's how it gets verified. Now, people say, well, that's fine and dandy. Now I got Bitcoin. What do I do with it? How do I use it? Well, you got Bitcoin. You can go the other way. Now you go from Bitcoin to fiat currency if you want to do it that way. And then from there, you get your money. Okay? Then go to your bank or whatever you want to put it. That can be done two different ways at this point. Number one, exchanges. You can go back to the exchange. It'll change it back, connect it to your account, and then have it dropped off into your bank or wherever you have it. Or the second that's been a little more popular now is to have a prepaid card where you actually order the prepaid card, you put your Bitcoin in that prepaid card, and from there, that prepaid card, now you can use it anywhere that accepts Visa. Okay? There's other systems that are coming along, and I wouldn't be surprised if pretty soon you'll be able to write from your phone because that's where it's headed. So I may need to update this video later. So what do you got to do? Well, one, you got to get a wallet. Number two, buy Bitcoin at a trusted exchange. And I'll give you a list of all those so you can go take a look at those. And then start using Bitcoin. Transfer it from one person to another, from one person to a business. And the more you use it, the more familiar you become with it. Because once you accumulate whatever amount you want, then you can go back and use it by either transferring it to your to a Visa or prepaid card or one of the exchanges and change it back into currency. The next question then obviously becomes, well, how do I grow my Bitcoin? Because I want more of it, right? That's what everybody is asking right now. So there's three basic strategies, and I'm going to fly through them. In the next couple of minutes, you will see that only three strategies that I've known that actually help you grow your Bitcoin. The first one is obviously you take your fiat currency, you buy Bitcoin, and you hold it. That's it, because it's gone up in value. You expect it to go up in value. There's a risk that it could go down in value, and everything that I'm sharing with you has a risk. But just like the market, if you were saying, you know what, I think the value of the dollar is going to continue to stay up, then I keep my dollar. If I think there's another currency, then you might do that. Okay. The second portion of it that's happening more often now, and you see it more and more, is you exchange it for a service. You provide a service. You tell somebody, hey, pay me in Bitcoin. They send a Bitcoin payment to your wallet, and there you go. Okay. That obviously the risk factor is not in your service, but necessarily in the value of the Bitcoin. If it drops down a little bit, you got paid a little less. If it goes up, you got paid more. Okay? Pretty plain and simple. That's strategy number one. Strategy number two is Bitcoin through mining. Okay? You remember I told you that there's Bitcoin in your wallet. You get an address from somebody you're going to send it to. It goes through a network. And those computers that end up mining or verifying that system get paid a little bit in Bitcoin. Think of it like gold. Back in the old days, there was mining of gold. And some of the people who were mining gold, they would be paid in gold. Similar, here you verify the transactions for Bitcoin, then you get paid a little bit in Bitcoin. That's it. And then from there, obviously, since you get paid in Bitcoin, you receive it to your wallet as those people are transferring those transactions of Bitcoin from one to the other. Okay. Now this is not done manually. These are computers that do it, and there's programs, companies that allow you to buy contracts to be able to do mining. And this is a minefield. Okay, and no pun intended there, but it is a minefield. There are some that are just flat out scams, and there are others that are legitimate and here for the long term. That's what's taken so long to be able to get to that point, to be able to say, okay, these are the ones that I personally trust, and our team actually trusts to be able to stay and be here for the long term. Okay, so we'll talk more about that later. The third, and probably the riskiest of the three strategies, is Bitcoin through trading. You take Bitcoin, and there's some level of trading that happens. Either You're trading one cryptocurrency for another, because remember I told you there's like hundreds of other coins. You can take one Bitcoin, say, you know what, I think this value of this one's going to go up, I'm going to trade it, and then if it goes up, great. If it goes down, you've lost. Okay. There's also programs that will do the trading for you. Now, those can be really good. It's sort of like going out to somebody and saying, hey, you know how to do it better than I do. Why don't you do it? I know I'll get paid a little less than if I was doing it on my own and I was doing it well, but I take a little bit less of a risk because you've been doing it, you understand the markets, you know how it's working, and so forth, and you have a team to actually dedicate the time to do what it takes to be successful. So those programs are there, they're available, but you have to make sure that you go into programs that fit your risk level, because otherwise, forget it. You know, this is just throwing money down the drain. Okay, so you got to understand that there's trading by other companies and there's trading by you that can be done. In essence, that is how it's done. All right, things to consider, important things to consider whenever you're doing any of this kind of stuff. Number one is what you're doing bringing some sort of value into your life, into the life of others. Now, I believe that my educating people about Bitcoin and about what's out there and how to stay safe and how to pick things that are most appropriate for what they have, at least providing the education and letting them make the decision, that's the approach that myself and my team take, period. From there, the person's going to have to take the decision, make their own decisions so that they can feel comfortable with them because they're the ones taking the risk. We also look at trust. You know, can we trust that company? Can we trust that service? Can we trust the longevity of it? Can we trust what they're saying? Do I believe that this is going to be something that the people that are running it is going to be here for the long term, and they have my best interest in mind, and it's actually going to work? If the answer is yes, then obviously that's another check mark to go in there. The third one is sustainability. Is the program that you're working with, or the people you're working with, using a strategy that seems to have longevity? Now, sometimes it's really hard to be able to tell. Is it sustainable? Is that something, because you can't see everything that the company is doing? Sort of like if you do mutual funds or whatever, you don't necessarily see every single step of what they're doing, but you see the results of that, and then you're able to say, is this sustainable? Well, it looks like the markets are going up. But at the end of the day, you're looking at risk versus reward. Is the risk that I'm taking, because maybe, you know, there's some of the trust check marks that didn't check off, but the longevity seems really good and the value seems really good. Okay, well, if that's the case and you get to weigh, I think I'm willing to take the risk for the reward. Okay, and so this brought me off to the last little part here, and we're pretty much done, is to say, here's my risk assessment. Okay, again, this is my risk assessment. Okay, this is not for you to say that this is for you what it needs to be. And I got to put this disclaimer. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not in any way in terms to be interpreted as advice of any sort. Please do your own due diligence. Take responsible action. And there are no guarantees in any type of program or investment, as you may lose your entire principal. Our goal here is to educate and help people understand more about the industry. So I'm not going to mention any specific programs. For that type of conversation, I'd be happy to share with you personally, but in this particular situation here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go from low, what I consider to be low, medium, and high risks. The lower ones, in my opinion, are the ones where you are doing the exchange, you're holding on to it, or you're providing a service and getting paid in Bitcoin. Where you run into risk is the value of it, right? The medium one, I would say, is Bitcoin, is the mining, because of two reasons. Number one, there's a lot of scams out there, okay, particularly in this arena. Number two is as it becomes more popular, then obviously sometimes the payouts of the mining gets more competitive, so it's a little bit harder to be able to be profitable, especially if you're trying to do it by yourself. But it is still very profitable, and this would be more of a long-term type of medium to long-term type of returns if you're in that kind of a strategy. And the final one is the high, and the high risk is the trading, because if you're doing it yourself and you don't know what you're doing, it might as well go to Vegas. Okay, if somebody else is doing it for you, then they can be doing it for you. But if you're trading cryptocurrencies, you know, you gotta keep it sustainable, and sometimes it gets kind of hard to be able to keep that consistency. All right, so that is in essence what that is. I want to make sure that I'm careful that if you're here, if you're at this point and you're going to carry a conversation with myself or one of our team members or whoever shared this with you, that you go through this and say, well, what's the risk? You know, how long they've been around, what's their trust, and so forth. But one of the things you got to know now is what's next, and we're pretty much done here. You know, you start getting familiar with Bitcoin. Get a wallet. Get some Bitcoin and start using it. If you're gonna start, we'll pull it back, go all the way through the process of getting a debit card. Like I said, after this video, you're gonna see a link that shows you exactly different programs, and you can look at that page for free for as long as I can keep that going. We'll keep that going. I don't have any intention of charging because it's just general information that you can find anywhere else. Okay, decide how you want to start growing it if that's the area that you're in. You want to start growing it, you're going to buy it and hold it, you're going to mine it, or you're going to trade it. But the key here is to diversify. Diversify from low to high. Or if you're going to go from high to low, understand that that's a riskier approach, okay? But it's possible. And start using it, because the more you use it, the better you're going to get. So if you want help, get back to the person who shared this with you. If you have nobody else, or if you found this through YouTube or somewhere else, you're welcome to contact me. I'll put my contact information below, but I'm going to ask you, who did you hear about? How did you hear about this? Okay, because if it's somebody else from my team, I want to make sure that you team up with them. So don't miss the boat. Don't do like I did. And here's an interesting little thing that I found and I thought was worthwhile sharing here as we close. Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, invited 5 people to his Harvard room 9 years ago to discuss a business opportunity. Only 2 people showed up and they got in. Today, those 2 people are billionaires. Dustin Moskovitz, $6.5 billion, Eduardo Saverin, $3.4 billion. Nothing is more expensive than a closed mind and a missed opportunity. Thinking about it for too long can cost you a whole lot of money and time. Taking action now can earn you a whole lot. It's your choice. It's your life. It's up to you to make a decision today. A decision about what you're going to do. I'm not telling you the specific program, I'm not telling you anything specific. I just want to make sure that you don't end up on the same boat that I ended up. Had I taken that action back in 2009, I would have been $45 million richer approximately today had I stayed and totally forgotten about it. So, thank you for watching this educational video. I certainly hope that you like it. There's a link for you to be able to see all the free resources that are out there for you to be able to use. I intend to keep it free so that you can utilize it, get started, as I want to be able to help people, and our team wants to be able to help people get benefit from this growth that is happening in this industry. So again, go back to the person who shared this with you. I look forward, hopefully you liked this video. If you did, click like, share it, comment, subscribe to the channel, do whatever you need to so that you can stay connected. Thank you very much for watching. Have an amazing day.